Yeah, I think I started using, it was alcohol initially when I was probably in early high school. I had changed from a public to a private school. It was a really small school. Everyone kind of already had their social groups in place. So I'm sure it was a social thing at first, and it was really gradual too. So I was incredibly functional in school, got a scholarship to go to college, functioned really well in college, and picked up from recreationally to more frequently, and from alcohol to everything else. I was going to start to list, but really just everything. I wish I knew when I crossed the line between addiction and just heavy recreational use, because it really snuck up on me. I think I woke up one day and realized, oh God. But I think when it really kind of spiraled out of control, I had moved back home from college. I was working a day job in an office, and then I was working nights in a bar, and I was just kind of burning the candle at both ends. And I started taking opiate-based pain pills to keep me going. I was super friendly in a service industry job and could work from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the morning. And I knew better than to take them every day, and I wasn't at first, and then I don't really remember when it moved to that point, but one day I woke up and I literally couldn't do it without them. College was like drinking and using summer camp. Everyone was doing something, and it was fun. There was nothing stigmatized about it. You could do coke one night or ecstasy one night and binge drink and go to class still, half buzzed, and people were okay with that. And I think that when it became apparent to me is maybe a couple years after I graduated, and I reached out to old friends, and they were going to bed at 9:30 and getting up and going to good jobs and starting families, and I was still ripping and running. And I kind of realized that maybe at that point it wasn't just me being a normal 23, 24-year-old. Towards the end, right before I came to Gulf Breeze, I got to a place where I was working 2, sometimes 3 jobs at a time. My goal was really to work 7 days a week, 2 shifts a day if I could handle it. And if I couldn't find a shift at my most profitable job, I would go do day labor with felons and homeless people and work for minimum wage so that I could get, work an 8-hour day, and they'd give me like a $47 check at the end of the day, which would be enough so I could be well for my next shift at my more lucrative job. And it was just exhausting. I don't know, I would make plans sometimes, and then the whole act of making money, finding drugs, getting drugs, using drugs, even when it was easy for me to have the money and find them, then I would use, and I'd have, an hour between when I was going to do whatever I was supposed to do. And so oh, that's plenty of time to go get more. And my whole day would just be completely consumed. About summer, early fall of 2015, I just really started to get disenchanted with the way that I was living. Nothing really happened that was crazy other than my main day job had told me that they were going to start doing random drug tests. And in the insanity of my using, I thought I could simply have a detox drink with breakfast every morning, whose time frame lasted between 1 and 5 hours, and then one at lunch every day, so that I would just always be cleared to pass a urine screen, which is nuts. I bought all the gas stations close to my house out of these drinks because they just don't stock them for people to buy 2 a day. And just the insanity of that really got to me. So I ended up deciding that I wanted to do inpatient treatment. I did some research and found a place in Middle Tennessee that was close to me. It was a 12-step program. I got everything kind of sorted out on my own before I even picked up the phone and called my family and said, hey, I'm going to treatment. I've got it taken care of. Because I didn't want to ask anybody for help. I never have wanted that. And I was really ashamed and embarrassed. So I went to that treatment center. I made it 17 days, and meanwhile, kind of the underlying theme that I got there, the message that I got, that I think a lot of people that have been around 12-step a lot will know, is that I'm an addict. I'm always an addict. I have this terrible disease. It's progressive, it's incurable, it's fatal. If I walk out that door and so much as take a sip of a glass of wine, then that's the first foot in the door. I'm going to begin a downward spiral. I'm going to have a needle in my arm laying in the gutter before I know it. And I had never used IV drugs at that point. And I'm not even sure really what happened in treatment. I don't know if I just wanted to push boundaries or if I got uncomfortable. But I ended up having a friend of mine meet me in a Taco Bell bathroom when we were out going to an AA meeting, and got high on an outing and treatment. And they asked me to leave, which I did. And I ended up meeting up with some shady characters that I really had no business with. But I kind of believed everything that they said about my rapid decline if I went back out and used. And I think I just kind of gave up. And I was like, well, if I'm destined to be a junkie, I'm going to be the best damn junkie I can be. And I think I got out of treatment in early November, late October, and I had a needle in my arm by December, January, and it was absolutely downhill from there. So that completely brought me to my knees. That escalated my using to a completely different place, and kind of the people that you buy pills off of aren't the same people that you buy heroin off of. And so I was running around with a different crowd that wasn't really good for me. That got me into shooting coke and crack as well. And it was all consuming. I lost about 30 pounds. I wasn't talking to my family. I got to where I couldn't even hit myself, not in any normal places. So I would have to have someone else hit me in my neck and then try to go to work with, a boatload of makeup every day. Kind of all my normal living skills had gone out the window. If I had time to take a shower between running around trying to chase down the dope man and trying to get to work and make money and trying to get by, it was a good day. I was only sleeping a couple hours a night, and I had kind of a come to Jesus moment. Well, I overdosed in February, I think, at work. I was actually working in a bar. The bar and restaurant were pretty busy. I had ducked into a staff bathroom and had my boyfriend at the time meet me up there. And before he was even done with the shot, I fell out of the bathroom into the main part of the restaurant. I had a bunch of people drinking at the bar with a prayer circle over me because I was apparently unresponsive. It's not funny, but I can only laugh. Somehow in trying to revive me, they had dumped cold water on me, and my pants were ripped where they were moving me around all the way up the seam on one side. So when they revived me, I tried to get back to work because that's how I'm made, and they told me I could either go to the emergency room or to jail, and I chose the emergency room. And when I was released, it was, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have anybody I could call to come get me. I was a couple miles from the house. There was snow on the ground. I was soaking wet in ripped clothes. Trying to think about how long it would take me to walk home in the snow with no coat, soaking wet. And that was kind of walking outside from the hospital was when I was like, this has got to be it. If this isn't enough to make me want to change, then I'm already dead. Nothing will be. And sure enough, the next day I'm going to COP, and it's just so crazy to talk about it now, but I continued to progress and get worse. And I had a moment where I was sitting up late at night and thinking about how miserable I was, and I wanted so badly to cry, and I had nothing. I had no emotion, no tears. And I think that was worse than just sitting up sobbing. So I had lost my insurance. I let that lapse because I got fired from the good job with the insurance that put me through the last treatment. I started researching ways that I could kind of play the system, or however, I just wanted a bed somewhere. And when I was in the middle of that research process, my mom shot me a text and said, something's wrong with you. I just want to be there for you. If it's not that you're getting high, then there's something medically wrong with you and we need to get you to a doctor because you don't look well. And so I called her and I came clean with everything. I told her, I don't need your help. I don't need anyone's help. I appreciate it, but I'll figure this out. And I put down the phone and went back to bed. And she called me a couple hours later and said, I'm 10 minutes away from your apartment. We're just going to throw some stuff in a bag. Don't worry about showing up for work. Don't worry about your things or your bills. Just leave it. Let's just get you somewhere. I've already put a down payment down on someplace in Pensacola. And it was here. And I was so hesitant to just jump like that. I mean, I left everything behind. And sitting here a little over 8 weeks later, it's the best choice I've ever made. And I'm sitting there online, not 6 hours later, trying to Google whether or not there's a time lapse after Narcan where I can't get high, because I wanted to time that out right. I didn't want to go waste the few dollars I had, because I had just lost my job. Actually, the real insanity of it is I showed up to work the next morning, figuring that I had gotten fired, but I was going to be there just in case. Because there are such few things that you have to hold on to when you're living like that. And mine was, by God, I'm a hard worker. I may be all these things and I may be, barely scraping by, but by God, I'm a hard worker. So unbeknownst to me, I have a cousin who I'm aware of. We've seen each other when we were younger, I believe, but I haven't seen him in many years. And I did not realize that he was an alcoholic. And he had gone to a 12-step treatment program, got out, relapsed. And then he came here a little over a year ago, and he's doing great. He's still clean. My mom called her parents in a panic to try to bounce some ideas, and she really did not want me to go back to another 12-step program. I would have gone anywhere that had a bed. I was at that point of desperation. But my grandmother told her about Gulf Breeze because my cousin, and how well he was still doing. My mom called his mother, and she said that they just couldn't say enough good things about it. And so my mom, I think, really, this was her, I think she really thought that this was my last chance, and this was her last chance with me. She actually said, I will never forget this. She said, I never thought that I would ask my child this, but do you want to live? Because I really hope that you do, but if you'd rather just die seeing the way that you live, I would totally understand that. Which was like, just to hear that from your mom, and I got it. I get it. Like, there was no way to live. And yeah, so she was telling me about this place. Like I said, where I was at, it could have been a lockdown psych ward, and I would have gone just because anything would have been better than where I was. And I was kind of at the point where I knew that any minute, all the little shifty things that I had done to get by, it was all going to be crashing down any moment. There's no way I would have been able to keep my apartment for much longer, or my job. My job had already begun to notice and say some things to me. The new job that I got after I got fired from the old job. So yeah, that's how I came to Gulf Breeze. And when I got here, I was already getting pretty sick. I was completely humiliated because I had just had to kind of come out to my family, which they knew something was wrong, but in my perception, the whole time I was being really slick and nobody knew. I had just left my entire life behind. And we pulled into the parking lot, and there was this big group of people playing cornhole. And I got out of the car, and I'm like really just sort of shaky, not wanting to be here. I'm like, hi, what's your name? I said, Kat. And I'm like, we already have another Kat. And I met her, and I was like, these people are all so happy and so friendly, and I'm just not there yet. So I came in, Reed met me at the door, which actually the last place that I went to treatment, the doctor had been out of the state or something. They had, I think, 11 admissions within 3 hours. I detoxed on the linoleum floor by myself, didn't even get sheets for my bed for many hours. And they couldn't give me any medication, even to sleep, without a doctor's order. So it was probably almost 48 hours after my last use that I got seen by anybody. And it was just, so to have somebody meet me at the door and say, come on, this is what we're gonna do. And I did my admission process, and when I walked into my room in detox, they had unpacked my things, and I had a picture in a frame of my family from home. And that was really refreshing. So that's how I got here. When I first started the classes, it was all really new to me, the whole 3P concept. Well, it was new to me and it wasn't. The vocabulary was new. The content was really common sense. And it was almost too simple. I think I used the term new age hippie bullshit a lot in the beginning. But in hindsight, I was so afraid of anything that I knew it couldn't be too easy. It just seemed like I could have gotten this on my own, and that's kind of the beauty of it, though, because I honestly can't even put into words the difference in myself after really kind of fully adopting this way of thinking. And it's something that is so basic and yet so under practiced in society that it's still really hard for me. I mean, I don't think I'll ever fully be there, but that's life. It's a journey, not a destination. But like, I'm excited to continue on it. I'm excited to keep learning about myself. I haven't liked myself, I don't think, since I was a child. And I've been such an external validation junkie, among and everything else junkie. But I don't need that today. And it's funny, the less I worry about it, the more I end up getting it, and the less important it is to me anyway. I'm happy with me, and I don't really care if anyone else is, but it's nice when they are, and the more I feel like that, the more that they are. It's kind of a beautiful thing. I'd really like to say, I want to say that Gulf Breeze and 3P saved my life, changed my life, but it's not true. They gave me a safe place, and I had what I needed to save my life the whole time. They just kind of pointed me in the right direction, which is so cool. The first book that I read that kind of made it make sense to me was The Little Book of Big Change. And I think that's a really good book to start with, because it kind of doesn't throw too much on you at once. The book that made me see kind of the poetry and the beauty of, I want to say 3P, but really of life, is a book that isn't really in our main library. It's a book that Reed gave me. It's called The Trial of the Man Who Thought He Was God. And it's kind of in a dystopian future where this man is being charged with blasphemy because he sees the divinity within himself and within everyone. And it's kind of his defense of that. And it's for somebody that struggled with spirituality, that struggled with, the higher power thing was always a roadblock to me in 12-step. And universal mind is what they call it here, which can be energy or God if you believe in that, but really anything bigger than myself was really hard for me to grasp. I have a math degree, I'm very analytical. If I can't see it, it isn't there. And that book was just so beautiful to me, and gave me a new perspective on that. And I don't know, I think I read it at a time when it's like once you start to see the beauty in yourself, you can't help but see it in everyone around you. And to see that there was an interconnectedness there was kind of the next logical step in my train of thought. I think that one of the biggest problems with 12-step is not 12-step itself, but that it uses some verbiage that can be really misinterpreted. And, looking at some of the things that I hated so much with a fresh perspective, I can really see how it helps some people. But the way I think about it is less of a disease and more of a dis-ease. You know, I was so uncomfortable just being with myself. I thought that boredom was a huge trigger for me. And I came to realize that it's not boredom. It was that I couldn't be in a space with just myself and my thoughts without feeling like I wanted to jump out of my skin. And I love being by myself now. I get up before everyone else and I watch the sunrise alone, and that's when I really can kind of reflect, and I get so much peace being alone throughout the day now. I was actually so uncomfortable in my own skin that going through IV heroin detox in addition to IV coke, crack, really, and a lot of alcohol as well, I didn't go in my room unless they made me, because I didn't even want to detox by myself. I would sit there and they said I flopped around like a fish on the couch for days, unable to sleep, didn't really want to be around people, but wanted to be around myself less. That's how truly uncomfortable I was with my own company. And my first major insight was I had such a double helping of guilt and shame that I really thought that I was somehow doing penance by punishing myself in my own mind, that I couldn't let myself off the hook because I didn't deserve it. And it's crazy how we can flip even positive things. My family was so supportive and had so much confidence in me, and I'm really blessed to have that. But I was so miserable that even that became a negative for me. How dare they think that I've got this? How stupid are they? How naive? Don't they know I'm just gonna ruin it like I always do? And so I took it on myself to punish me because no one else was doing it, and I so thought that I deserved it. And the first big insight that I had was it didn't sink in at first that I was worth being kind to myself, but rather that it was so counterproductive to beat myself up, that it wasn't doing myself any good, and it was bringing me to a place where I was just hurting my family more. So having that realization of, this isn't helping anyone, this is furthering the problem, was like a light bulb. And I went from there to, my next big insight was that, I deserve to be nice to me, and I deserve to love myself, and I'm worthy of it. And just because I made a mistake doesn't mean I am a mistake. And that I'm not defined by the things that I've done. I'm defined by what I do for them now, and that's the only thing I have control over. And I got my reins back. So yeah, I had really lost the relationship with my family because of my own isolation. They would always be there if I needed it, but I was trying to just kind of touch base at home just enough to not be suspicious. But it was a really big ordeal for me to go through just to see my family. It involved a lot in my using. And when I first got here, calling my mom and checking in, or my brother or whoever, I really felt the need, especially because they made such a big investment in sending me here, and I wanted to be worthy of it, and I wanted to do well for them at that point, more for them than for myself. And so I kept, they'd ask me, what am I doing? What am I learning? And I kept wanting something concrete to tell them I've achieved this milestone. Look at my report card hanging on the fridge. And it's just not like that. I could tell that I was changing and making progress, but I had a really hard time communicating that. And at the halfway point, my mom came for an outing, and the first thing she said was, "Oh my God, you look like my kid," because I had put on about 20 pounds at that point. I had seen the sun for the first time in a long time, so I wasn't gray and ghostly anymore. But I kept feeling like I needed to prove that I was learning something or doing something. And towards the end of our visit, I expressed that to her. And she said, "You don't have to say anything." She said that she had not seen me be able to sit still ever, not even before I was using. I've always been kind of an anxious, foot tapping, always in my head, always. I've never been able to sit still. And she's like, "I've never seen you be able to sit still like that." And the content of our conversation is on such a different level than it was before. I mean, in all honesty, the expectations I have for all the relationships in my life is I just hold those to such a higher standard. I'm not really satisfied anymore with talking to people that I only have a really shallow connection with. There were a couple of folks in my life using that I tried to kind of reach out to since I've been here, but I don't have any desire to live that way anymore, and we have nothing in common anymore. And whether it's a best friend or even if it were a family member, I don't know, my outlook's just so different.
Do you think you reach out to your cousin?
I have his number, and I plan on doing that. And he is expecting my call. I just haven't done it yet. I kind of want to talk to him a little bit like right before I leave, because I'm graduating next week, and kind of see if he has any words of wisdom for me there.
Yeah. Two things. One is particular is, what are you looking forward to?
To begin with, everything. I'm such a structured person. That's the way that I'm made. I've always had the next thing planned out. And this is the first time in my life that I have no job. I don't know where I'm going to live. I'm plan on starting over in a new city. I don't even have a cell phone number yet. And it's not scary like I thought it would be, because I knew that was going to be my situation early on, and it had me panicked. But I finally have the opportunity to truly start over and build a life that I want. And I have the power to control where I'm going from here, but I don't need all that control right now. I'm kind of just going to do the next right thing and leave it up to the universe to see where that brings me. But it's an adventure, and when you don't know what your destination is, and at this point I don't want to know, because there's no fun in that, you can't really get lost along the way. Every single step that I make is going to be a step that I'm supposed to make, and if it's something that doesn't turn out well, then I'll learn from it. And I don't know, I guess I'm really excited about starting on that journey. I'm already started on that journey, really. So for anyone that was in a situation like mine, or that's out there using, still running, it makes me sick just to think about being back in that place, honestly. I just remember having a few little things that I was grabbing onto so tightly because I felt like they were the last vestiges of my humanity. Give it up. It's not worth it. Like, the things that were keeping me out there were the few good things in my life, or that I thought were good things, and I didn't want to lose them. I didn't have time to take off work to go to treatment. I didn't have I didn't have it in me for the people that didn't know what was going on in my life to find out. I didn't want to face that shame. I didn't want to lose my apartment. There were so many things that I was holding on to so tightly, and with the perspective I have on it now, those are things I'm glad I left behind. I can do so much better. I am worth so much more. And the things that I know that I'm achieving now, starting over from the bottom and building up, even that place is 100 times better than my best days, 3 months ago.
Well, 3 months ago, it was still external. You were still holding on to external, but you didn't have you.
No, and you know what? From somebody that couldn't stand to be with myself, I am my best friend. And I have done everything in my power to not be with myself for so long that it's a relationship that I'm really building. I'm learning a little bit every day more about who I am and what I like without the influences of other people or drugs or alcohol. And it's amazing, you know, it's a really beautiful process. I feel like I'm in the beginning phases of a relationship with myself, and everything that I learn and everything I find out is new and exciting, just like it is, you know, in the beginning when you're in love. I'm falling in love with me again, and it's awesome. I can't say enough good things about what this process has done for me, and this is coming from someone who came in. You know, I think that hope and faith are really important moving forward, and I never really lost hope because I always really wanted to get out of the way I was living, but I had no faith in myself. I walked in the doors knowing that GBR, no treatment center, that nowhere could fix me because I was so broken. And I've got a lot of faith today, and that's really cool, and I've got faith in myself. And, you know, not every day is sunshine and rainbows, obviously. I feel like it's kind of a series, a back and forth between breakthrough and breakdown, but it's, you know, I'm trending upward. And even my low points are something that I can get through because I have faith in myself that I can do it. And even that's a beautiful thing, going from, you know, sitting in my room in the dark and wishing I could cry to, I cry all the time now, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's tears of joy, tears of sadness. I feel all my feelings, and I'm glad to see them again, because I felt so distant and so detached from everything and everybody, and I feel so connected now to myself, to all the people around me. I'm really, really grateful for where I am today, and you know, if anybody's even considering coming here, if it's possible for you, just do it. It'll be the best decision you ever made. And it's such a juxtaposition between experiencing every moment of every day that seems like forever here. Of course it seems like a long time, because when you're in Groundhog's Day out running, every day flies by. It's the same damn thing over and over again. And it's like a baseline of misery with little blips of doing okay when you're high. And I think it seems so long because you're actually experiencing everything. And I don't know, I just think that an 8-week investment compared to the rest of my life, my 8 weeks was up last week, and I think that had I graduated last week, that it would have been great, and I would have been totally ready to continue my journey on my own and start my adventure. But I realize how much I'm still learning every day, even after 8 weeks, that I decided to stay a couple more.